Fortnite has finally fixed the Azeron, and if you're wondering what that means, well, that's what this video is for. Let's talk about it. For 5 months now, the lock input method as mouse setting in Fortnite has been broken. And for an Azeron gamer such as myself, or anyone using some other thumbstick add-on device, this has been incredibly frustrating and disappointing. But guess what happened in the Fortnitemares Fortnite update? They fixed it. Before we talk about what to do now that it's fixed, let's quickly go over what this bug even was. So like I said, the bug affected the lock input method as mouse. And that's pretty obvious. It means that the input method is locked as the mouse. And that's really important when you're using a thumbstick add-on either to a keyboard or a device like the Azeron that has a thumbstick, because we still need to use our mouse. We need to use them both in tandem with each other. And while we do that, the game needs to be able to recognize both, but also recognize them as two different inputs, which is why this setting was put in place. Now, the bug was affecting the game trying to figure out which input was the primary input device. So basically, anytime that you would use the thumbstick and you'd move the mouse at the same time, you'd have controller buttons popping up when there should be mouse or keyboard buttons at the same time, and they'd flip back and forth. Now, this would either cause a delay from the actual inputs from your keys on your keyboard or the Azeron, a very short delay, but noticeable nonetheless. And more noticeably, when it came to build mode, sometimes you couldn't even place an edit. Way back in late May of this year, when the bug first started happening in-game, it actually completely disabled the Xbox 360 joystick option in the Azeron software. So if you had that joystick setting on, you actually couldn't even move at all. Luckily for us, the Azeron software does have the option to have the joystick set to WSD movement, and this allowed for us to use the joystick and actually be able to move around. And to smooth out that movement, inside of Fortnite's settings, we were able to use custom diagonals to kind of fill in the gaps where the thumbstick 360-degree movement was trying to hit. Now, this was not at all perfect, especially when you were used to the 360 beautiful fluid movement that felt like you were on a controller before the bug happened. It was very clunky. It was so frustrating, especially anytime you were running around corners. It just felt like you were getting stuck, or if you were trying to run to step back, it was just throwing you in a different direction from time to time. Playable, yes. Very frustrating. Now, back sometime, I think in July, they put out a patch that was intended to fix the bug as a whole, but it messed up something for console players, so they had to revert it. Somehow in that update, though, they actually did fix the 360 movement. Just the joystick movement part, not the input part. So in the Azeron software, you were able to use the joystick again for the 360 movement and get rid of all that clunkiness with the keyboard, but you still had to deal with the inputs fighting and having a little bit of delay in there, which as a zero build player was totally fine for me, and it just felt good to move normally again for the most part. But for anyone who plays builds, still a nightmare for sure. It's such a relief to say that this bug is finally fixed. We can finally feel that full 360-degree movement without any button delays. We can place builds, we can place edits, we can play all the game modes we want and use the inputs we want, and it will be fluid. So now that it's fixed, I can actually show you a little side-by-side in case you're still confused of what the bug looked like before and what it looks like now while it's fixed. You'll notice that there are no input delays, no inputs competing with each other. The mouse and thumbstick are working in tandem perfectly. It does exactly what I want it to do, and that's what you want your inputs to do, exactly what you want them to do. And now we can. So real quick, we'll take a look in the Azeron software and in my Fortnite settings to show you how to get this perfect 360-degree movement back. But also I want to point out that if you got comfortable using the keyboard movement on the Azeron software, maybe just stick with it. If you're fine with it, that's great. You're essentially future-proofing the product for yourself by doing that. You know, if there's ever another problem with the joystick in the future, you don't have to worry about that. Before we dive into this though, and you start changing all your settings, make sure you save your profiles on the Azeron software, take screenshots of your settings in Fortnite and all that, just so you have a reference for it if we ever have a bug happen again. So in the Azeron software, you're gonna go over to your joystick and you're gonna choose the Xbox 360 joystick option. You shouldn't have to reconfigure the joystick on here, but if you want to, go for it. Close out of that, and then you're gonna go into your Fortnite settings. You're gonna go over to the infamous lock input method as mouse and turn that on, since it works now. You can also turn off your custom diagonals now. You don't need them, they're irrelevant. You have full 360-degree movement. You have all your diagonals that you could possibly need. And that is it, and you are good to go. Now you can take those settings out for a spin and enjoy. But before you go play, I do want to say this. This might be obvious, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Just because this bug was fixed does not mean it will stay fixed. We all gotta keep in mind that this could happen again at any time, but just in case, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future uploads. If anything goes wrong, we have more bugs, I will make videos about those and I will cover them for you guys to help you out, hopefully. And please, if you guys would consider dropping a like on the video so we can reach and help out others, that'd be really appreciated. Thank you so much for watching and happy gaming.